Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, better known as the Snyder Cut. So, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. So, I want to start off by saying I'm a huge fan of Zack Snyder. I've loved his work ever since I saw Dawn of the Dead. I think that movie is like one of the best reboots that's ever existed. Because, in my opinion, when you reboot something, you should change it up and make it different and kind of have fun with it and throw your own style on it to make it different enough to warrant remaking something that was already good. Because most every reboot is something made of something good. So, I really liked it and I kind of dig his style a lot. And pretty much everything he made from then, I enjoyed to some degree or another. So I liked Man of Steel and I liked Batman v Superman. I really liked Man of Steel a lot. Batman v Superman, I didn't like it as much as Man of Steel, but I thought it was a lot of fun. It felt like it pretty much reminded me of like playing with my action figures as a kid. Like it was a lot of fun. Not as dumb as Transformers, but a lot of fun. And I really like the differences Zack Snyder put in his versions of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. You know, his interpretations of these characters. I really like the darker, gritty kind of reality, the hyper realized kind of real life situation. Because these characters are so much larger than life that it's very hard to do, I think, pretty much anything in any other direction. Because in my opinion, the very happy-go-lucky kind of style, the super friends nature that a lot of people seem to really like from Superman especially, it doesn't fit with reality. It would take me too much out of it, and I think that's why Superman Returns failed, to be honest. And then in 2017, when the Justice League theatrical cut came out, I watched that and I was like, okay, I can feel some Zack Snyder in here, but all of this other stuff is kind of crappy. Like it felt like it was trying to Marvelify the DC that has become already. Like when the two things like are so different for very specific reasons, it seems like the powers that be and the loudest voices in the fandoms didn't really understand that. Like Marvel was made singular movie at a time and then bring the characters together. Like why would you want to carbon copy that? Don't you want to be different and be unique and stuff? So the idea of doing team up movies that then have bigger stories that then branch off to everyone's individual stories or individual movies, I thought that was a really interesting and unique kind of way to do it. Like if pretty well, Zack Snyder doesn't know how to make a short movie, so he was always going to have half of his stuff chopped up anyway, and that's probably what led to the majority of the issues that a lot of people had, because a lot of people tended to like the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman, because ironically everything that was cut out was all the stuff that made all the other stuff that didn't make sense. So it was just weird. But the 2017 version of Justice League, like all that other stuff that was put in there that wasn't Zack Snyder stuff that kept trying to change the tone, like that didn't fit with the original stuff that was shot, like it rubbed me the wrong way and I didn't like it, and I was kind of disappointed. I was basically checked out at that point. So when all the release the Snyder Cut stuff started, I didn't think there was any shot of it. But then that Sonic thing happened where all the fans was loud enough to make them completely change the design of Sonic in that movie. So I was like, well, maybe it will happen or something. So when it, bring us up to the 18th, bring us to last week, and I saw it. I saw the Snyder Cut, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was amazing. And even at 4 hours, it didn't feel like 4 hours. Like it just flew by. And half my enjoyment was purely because the comparisons, because it's very clear. Like it's so weird because like the Fantastic Four movie a few years ago had a similar issue where it got all chopped up and like was basically half finished and just was basically a disaster. But like I don't feel as many hands in that one as I did in the 2017 Justice League. That movie just felt very unfinished. Like people got rushed off the board when they were like half done setting up or something. The Justice League, it felt very much like half those shots, like the really annoying shots like Flash falling on Wonder Woman's chest and stuff like that was taken from a Marvel movie. Like some of those shots that Whedon used, he basically ripped himself off. Like some of these shots are the same shots, and it's kind of mind blowing a little bit. But I didn't like it, and then I got to see Snyder's actual true vision, and it's so awesome. I really like it a lot. So for this video, I want to basically go over the top 10 things, or at least my top 10 favorite differences between the two versions. Because it goes without saying that this version is a lot better because it's longer, it's more, fleshed out, the pace is proper and stuff. So it's a complete vision. So it goes without saying that it's better. So I just want to talk about my top 10 favorite differences between the two versions. So let's get started. And if that wasn't apparent, this is definitely going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't watched it or haven't finished sitting through it in different parts, however you're going to watch it, if you're going to watch it, then, watch out for spoilers in this video. Because even if you've seen the 2017 version, there is still major stuff in here to be spoiled for, which proves even more that it's a totally different thing. So let's get started with number 10. Number 10 were the bad jokes. Oh, like I just mentioned, like the joke where Flash trips and falls on Diana, and like, of course, he basically motorboats her. Like it's icky. Like it's stuff that you would feel like society has basically grown past, like those kind of level of immature jokes. Even if this is comic book stuff, you don't have to get. That's almost American Pie level of crass. Like. Oh, and the Aquaman sitting on the lasso of truth joke. Oh, that was like that felt like such shoehorn effort at like character development or like characterization, and it was just done so sloppy, and it was just lame, and it was clunky, and it didn't even make sense. Like, how did she just leave her lasso over there? It didn't work for me. It was crap, and I'm so happy it's gone. Oh, and the another really bad joke was when they were digging up Superman, that stupid little fist bump attempt between Flash and Cyborg. Like, I guess it was set up for the fact that they fist bump at the very end, but the whole fact, just the way it was done was so terrible. And then Flash like makes some comment like, "Oh, racially charged" or something like that. I'm like, why? Like, why even do that? Like, why? Like, that's not funny. It didn't get a laugh in my theater even back then. Like, it's dumb, it's terrible, and it made both characters look stupid. And I didn't like it at all. And it was clearly a Joss Whedon thing because it's gone. And last but not least in this category, but definitely the most infamous, is that infamous as mustache face. Like that, it looks so terrible. It looks like Henry Cavill's whole front of his face got smushed in and smashed in or something. It's so bad. Like, that also was one of the main identifiers, was why it was so easy to tell which parts were the reshoots and which parts weren't from the 2017 version. Just like, okay, any scene with Henry Cavill with the weird funky face, that means this is a reshoot. So like, it was just so distracting and looked so terrible. And it kind of blows my mind how like you can CGI an entire person and make like young Leia and have young like even in WandaVision, like we had young Agatha Harkness, or younger, but like, so it's been done in movies. Like, that level of technology has been done. Like, you can make an upper mouth and make it not look like he's holding a picture in front of his face or something. Like, it looks so terrible. So that was gone. So even though this number 10 technically had a bunch of little things in it, it all falls up under the really bad jokes. All the little added extra kind of, want to light the tone kind of things that were done to the 2017 version. Those are the things that are gone from Snyder's cut, and I am so happy they're gone. Good riddance. It just made the movie and the tone and everything about it so much better with their absence. So let's move on to number 9. Number 9 is the Russian family. This worthless Russian family, not, saying anything about them or whatever. I'm sure if, IRL, they'd be firing people or whatever. But like, it just feels like such a shoehorn thing in. The entire thing with Superman with the, apartment building of people, and then Flash doing that with the Russian family and stuff. It feels like such shoehorn and kind of like saving people stuff. But it's so ironic because after having seen the Snyder Cut, you're like, why even feel like you need to shoehorn in some saving situation when there's scenarios of the League saving people all throughout the movie? It's like, you ignore these saving situations for this one that makes no sense. And considering Steppenwolf took everything to what I am pretty sure is Chernobyl, that's Russia. It's not, I assume the deserted radioactive place they're in is Pripyat. So it's close enough. It's not explicitly said, but that's like, so why would there be anybody just living in Pripyat? Like, And then Aquaman had that stupid little line like, people chased out of elsewhere will go. Like, no, you don't go to an irradiated city even if you're chased out of Russia. Like, that's just not done. Like, so yeah, the whole thing, it was shoehorned in and it was worthless. And that's where you get to see some of the really dumb Flash stuff that I think turned people off of the Flash. So good riddance to that. So I'm happy that stuff is gone. So let's get to number 8. Number 8. That stupid end credit scene where Flash versus Superman, the fastest man alive scene. Like, this scene, you can tell it's a reshoot because both of them were so not in character. I feel like Ezra Miller forgot how to do his Flash run in the time between they wrapped initial shooting and he had to do the reshoots, because everything else in the Snyder cut, like as far as Flash is running, is okay as far as I'm concerned. It looks all right. It looks decent. His arms, like, he do like a little bit of a swimming motion quite a lot, and that's different than most runners, but like, it's passable. It's not the garbage that he did at the end where he like swinging his legs around like he got 2 broken hips or something. Like, that was just terrible. And that was an extra add-on, and it's gone. And it just plays so much better without it, because you don't need it, because the fight when Superman comes back to life is enough to tell you who's faster. The fact that the Flash was able to stay a little bit ahead of Superman tells you he's just a bit faster than him. Superman can't go past the speed of light, whereas Barry Allen can, and mess with time and do all of that kind of stuff. So there's your clear differentiation right there. You don't need to do it. I know it's a comic reference and stuff, but it was, yeah, it could have even been done probably better, actually, but it was just done terribly. Just, yeah, good riddance to it, and I'm glad it's gone. So let's go on to number 7. Number 7 is the return of the Zack Snyder visuals. In the 2017 version, they were saturated and like crank the contrast up real high and make everything, like the red super pop, and like, to get any kind of color in there. And there was that whole weird red filter at the end, like basically as a pure commentary on what his whole motif. And I love his Snyderisms. Like, there was one instance in here though where his Snyderisms was like, come on, dude. Like when Wonder Woman was in the bank or wherever that place was, or wherever that place was, and she gets the bomb from the terrorists and she throws it up. Like, he hangs on that slow-mo shot looking at the briefcase for so long. I was like, dude, really, you indulge it now. Like, you just like, haha, 4 hours. Like, that's what that felt like to me. But like, I feel like in a theatrical cut, you could have trimmed a lot of his slow-mo down, and it would have this could have been fit into a theatrical run, apart from that whole WB 2-hour mandate thing they apparently set down. But anyway, I am very happy that we had the return of Zack Snyder's visuals. I really like his style, aesthetic, and I love like the deep dark shadows, and like everything it's basically a touch off of black and white. It feels like he wants to make stuff in black and white, and he just hasn't had the chance yet. So I really do hope there's a black and white version of this. And the whole thing that he does with his framing and his frames, and just pretty much every scene in the movie and most of Zack's movies can look like a painting. Each frame can be wallpaper, and some of his frames explicitly are references to actual paintings. So I really love that, being an artist myself, being totally into visual arts and stuff. So that stuff just really speaks to me. So I was really happy to see his style come back, and the ditch of that weird, terrible filter at the end of it. So yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to number 6. So number 6 is like the context. In some scenes we have from the 2017 version, something is said and it's really weird. Like, for example, the way the discussion of bringing Superman back to life happened. It was basically an argument between Bruce and Diana. Like, it was weird. The whole thing didn't feel right. That's why I feel like a lot of people kind of felt weird about the way he came back. People were talking about how they desecrated his grave and stuff. The whole feel of it was just off from the way that it was brought up and done. But in Snyder's version, in the original version, it's a whole team discussion, and it's basically an adjunct to explaining the mother boxes. Like, explaining what the mother boxes does then sparks the same idea in everybody's head at the same time, and Zack puts in that perfect music cue at that right time time, and it just everybody's thinking before even the audience is thinking it. You're like, oh crap, everybody's like, oh maybe we can bring him back. So it's a much more natural way of it going, and it's more hopeful, and it's about defeating the villain, and it's not about like Batman feeling bad about himself and thinking he's not as good of a leader as Superman, who didn't ever lead a team or anything like that. So there's no reason to even have that assumption. So in Snyder's cut, like they needed him back purely for his power level because he's Superman. So it makes so much more sense. And I'm so happy once again to say that we got it in the Snyder cut, and yay for the Snyder cut. So let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is the easy one, the Steppenwolf design. The Steppenwolf in the 2017 version looked so junky. Like, the CGI wasn't good. The design of it wasn't good. After I saw the deleted scene for a BVS where they showed Luthor in the Kryptonian ship Gook or whatever, and he was looking at the hologram of Steppenwolf with the mother boxes, and he had the proper design to him. I thought that was cool. Like, that was menacing, and that was different because, in my opinion, anything different you do with Steppenwolf is fine, because Steppenwolf has always looked really plain and very lame, in my opinion. From when he wore all green back in the day to like when he just has what looks like Ares armor later on. Like, making Steppenwolf a very distinct and totally different alien is much better, in my opinion, because I always kind of thought like the people of Apocalypse should always be much more like how Desaad is always kind of face melty and stuff, and Darkseid is basically made of rock or whatever, but like, everybody else is very human. So, and like in New Genesis, the Highfather, all his people and stuff, they're all very human. Like, I can understand them being the good, being humanish, but like Darkseid and them, like all of them should be very terrifying. So making Steppenwolf this big giant spiky crazy monster thing with like a cute little turtle face and 7 fingers is really awesome, and I loved it. I thought it was just brilliant. So it's a really good design. It matches up with the expectation I had from the end of BVS, and it's just way more threatening and way more menacing, and the use of him is so much better. He's got an expanded storyline and actual like depth and backstory and motivation. And when he was afraid of Darkseid, just the way the face is animated, like he looked like a cute turtle, but like to the point you almost feel bad for him. Like it's so funny to me. I'm like, after just loving the design of it, like I now can't really feel threatened by him, except when he's swinging around that axe and just wiping the ground with blood and stuff. Like, that's pretty awesome and terrifying slightly. But yeah, so anyway, let's go ahead and move on to number 4. So number 4, pigtails or tail and dovetails, whatever the phrase is. So number 4 is the expansion of the action scenes. Pretty much every single action scene has more cuts, more different little scenes to it, more additions to it, and more like just it's done better. Like the Wonder Woman fight and the beginning of it, like, yes, assuming Zack filmed that very R-rated like that from the beginning, holy crap, Wonder Woman went through and just wrecked everybody. Like, there's one thing that's a little superhero contradictory she does when she obliterates the guy with her bracelets and destroys the whole part of the building. It's like, okay, you were saving the building because they were going to blow up the building, so you probably should have done that. And then all that rubble definitely killed one of those cops. There's no way those big giant chunks of concrete didn't kill somebody. So, little boo-boo from Wonder Woman, even though she's been doing this for so long. But like, no movie's perfect, and those are the kind of little flubs and things that still exist and have always existed in Zack's DC stuff. So I've basically come to expect it, and I can kind of just brush it off. I don't need everything to be 100% airtight because these people are flying around. They're literal freaking gods. Like, come on. Also, the Atlantis scene where Steppenwolf comes in and fights them for the mother box, like, we get to see the pretty much the fight that we got cut away from in the 2017 version. There's even like logic to it, because before we just see Steppenwolf kind of throw Mira off to the side, but now we know he throws her off to the side because she started blood bending him and started getting ready to kill him by removing all his blood with her aquakinesis and stuff. So that's even better. But the thing that's weird in the part that I have to criticize Zack on is these freaking air bubbles. They did these stupid little air bubbles so many times. And when they weren't in the air bubbles and they would talk, it sounded like dolphins speaking. So I was like, whoa. So if Zack would have directed Aquaman, would everybody have been making stupid air bubbles like would Atlantis have been like the Gungan city from the prequels of Star Wars, like with air bubbles over the city or something? Like that is just no. Like that would have been a terrible, terrible decision, and that's proof that Zack has his wheelhouse, and it is definitely not water. Like so, I'm glad that James Wan took it over and fixed that whole aesthetic and that whole motif. And I have no idea what's up with Mira's appearing and disappearing British accent. But I thought it was hilarious. I got a chuckle out of it when she started speaking, especially in the Nightmare end credit sequence. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, you are very British right now. You are not British later. So, and another action scene that I thought was amazing, the fight between the Themyscirian Amazons and Steppenwolf when they were basically playing pass the baton and playing keep away with them. And like all the Amazons that sacrificed themselves. Like, so I'm assuming this is because the visual sequence wasn't done. So like I don't understand why when they sealed off the temple area where the mother box was, why in the 2017 version did they just leave and not have it fall into the ocean the way they did in this one? I'm like, I guess because the visual sequence wasn't done, because when she came out of the place, the building behind her looked, when Hippolyta slid out, the building looked very CGI. So maybe the whole sequence wasn't entirely done, so maybe that's why it wasn't in 2017 version. But it was so much better. It gave so much better context. It gave weight to their sacrifice instead of them just being stuck in the room. Because like as soon as Steppenwolf left, they could have got out, like especially through the way the ceiling was. So having them all plunge into the water like that was a much greater sacrifice. And then the entire fight, like just having it with blood splatter and stuff like that was awesome. And then this entire scene just basically proves that we need a Themyscira series on HBO Max, an Amazon series, or which is funny because Amazon series now. But like we need a series to take place on Amazon, either on HBO Max or a movie like 300. And I think Zack could do a great job. He basically just do 300 with ladies. Just go ahead and just give it more context and more life than just pure battles and stuff. But it would look awesome just from that sequence alone. Like I feel like that's enough evidence right there. So let's move on to number 3. Number 3, the inclusion of Darkseid and all his friends. So in this one, it's so much better. Apart from Steppenwolf getting actual like character development, having a backstory and proper motivation, we get to see the source of his backstory and motivation and stuff. We get to see him talk to Darkseid, and we get clips or scenes, we get to see Grandy Goodness for a second, and we talk to Desaad for a bit. Like all of that is beautiful setup. Like, and then the way it ends with Darkseid saying we'll do it the old way, meaning old-fashioned invasion. Like that was the perfect type of setup that spins off these movies into like the greater situation, like how Marvel had. Like it was basically literally the Thanos I'll do it myself moment. It was the same setup for something bigger. And I'm guessing at this point DC or Warner Brothers or whatever was like, we're not moving on, we're not doing more, so everything that's going to hint to something new coming up in the future, cut it out. Everything like anything that could lead to something going on, cut it out. Because they, despite the fact that they were saying that they weren't, they clearly were headed towards a reboot and just wiping everything clean. At least that's my assumption. I don't know for sure, obviously, but that's my guess. So let's move on to number 2. And number 2 is, of course, the freaking inclusion of Cyborg's actual story arc. In the 2017 version, he was barely there. He was a blip. He was like pretty much everything of his character was cut out. And I think that's insane because he's literally, as been said, he is the heart of the story. Like that's not even hyperbole. Like he is the source of everything being able to be done. Without Cyborg, they can't do anything. Like they can't even resurrect Superman, so they can't even fight Steppenwolf. It's literally all over without this man. Like, and he deserved backstory. We deserve to see the clips that we saw in those original trailers, which proves that those scenes were done. So why take them out? It made no sense at all. Like his entire arc was irrevocably messed up. And then the way he met Diana was completely changed for some reason. And it changed the entire context of it. And it's just, he became such a non-presence, and it annoyed the crap out of me. And I seriously understand Ray Fisher's anger, like going towards all that kind of stuff now, because what excuse do you have? This stuff was filmed. We saw the majority of the new stuff we got from Cyborg in those early trailers. This stuff was done. There is no reason in the world why this could have been cut out or should have been cut out. You can claim it's because of the 2-hour mandate, but no, there's other stuff that you could have cut out or shortened to make room for a freaking character story arc. Like, come on. Like, that's, I don't know. That's something. But that takes me right into number one. So my biggest, my favorite change / biggest WTF is basically the diversity. Like, ironically, every single cut out of this movie removes some sort of diversity. Starting with Cyborg's entire backstory. Cyborg's entire backstory includes Morris Silas and his actual mother and the actual freaking accident that causes, him to be a torso. And that's kind of important stuff. Like, we would like to know that. Like, even in the war against Darkseid the first time, when they showed the tribes of men in the 2017 version, they show Vikings, but in this one they show Vikings, they showed like Chinese warriors, and they show like multiple different cultures. I'm like, okay, that looks like the world of man that we know. Like, that there's more than just Vikings running around. And like the Themyscirians, like there is the one who was, by my account, kind of being a little silly, keep trying to basically poke at the mother box. Like, she got all cut out, and like all the other ones got cut out that had scenes and that had depth and that was like struggling and stuff. They were all gone. Ryan Choi completely cut out. Like, why is he cut out? Like, he is literally regardless if they were going to do a reboot or whatever, like, they still could have set up Ryan Choi and had him go and be the Atom somewhere else, because that was one of the cleanest, simplest, most subtle Easter eggs that was in there, and he was relevant to everything else that was going on. He was relevant to Silas's whole story, and he was relevant to like the way the whole dark mother box and everything kind of works out. And then changing Silas to live at the end, instead of imparting this big lesson and like resolving the relationship between him and Cyborg, like, it feels like, what the hell? Like, they weren't on good terms, and then suddenly at the end of 2017 version, they're all good, and Cyborg, made his little comic book accurate self or whatever. But like, it was so incomplete, and it's like so weird. It's so weird. Ryan Choi shouldn't have been cut out. And then like the thing that Cyborg does when he helps that single mother and stuff, like, why did they cut her out? And like, she was pissed about it. Even the actress, like, she was on Twitter talking about it. Like, some of these cuts are so weird, and I'm trying not to like get all conspiracy or anything about it, but like, they're so weirdly deliberate, and I'm trying to come up with multiple different explanations for it, more or less out of denial, I guess. I don't know. You can say it's out of denial or not, but like, I am assuming a lot of these things, though, some of it, like the Ryan Choi thing, I can kind of understand if y'all cut him out because Warner Brothers came down and said, cut out anything that could lead to a sequel, because this is where we rebooting after this. I can see that. I can see them cutting out the everything else. I guess you could just write off and say that they cut for time or whatever and squeeze down. I don't really understand why you butcher Cyborg's arc like that. Even with every excuse I've come up with, every rational explanation, I can't come up with a reason to do that. That basically, just seeing this movie as compared to the other one feels like it just validates everything Ray Fisher said, and it's just, so it's crap. But at the end of the day, we got to see his full performance. We got to see Zack Snyder's original vision, and we got to see this long 4-hour epic that I would love a sequel to. So I guess I am firmly in the restore the Snyderverse camp. So yeah, hashtag restore the Snyderverse, at least some of it. Like, put some of it on HBO Max and keep going with the Robert Pattinson stuff and, all that other stuff. But like, toss this on HBO Max. And I mean, hell, if Henry Cavill's on Netflix, he probably won't be too opposed to jumping on HBO Max, streaming. Who knows? So yeah, this video has been a little different than my usual thing. I hope you guys like it. If you like me talking about this random different kind of stuff, like regular other pop culture stuff apart from books, let me know in the comments down below. So as always, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will talk to you all next time. Peace.